Hello and welcome to this InLinks Master Class, where I'll be going through all of the different InLinks tools, strategies, ways you can use us to suit your needs. I'll go over how to use this for agencies, for individuals, for enterprise, everything that you might want. I have done videos on these that are far more granular and specific to different tasks, like all of your internal linking and schema and content needs are on smaller videos. I will go over those again here, but this is more of a long form demo that you can refer back to if you would like some extra help. So immediately when you come into InLinks, you'll be faced with something that looks a little bit like this, but you'll have two different boxes. One will say create a brief and one will say optimize a website. And to create a new project, you need to optimize that new website. So you need to just press that button. After you have created your first website, you will come back and your dashboard will look more like this, where it will see all of your projects. And remember, you're not limited by the amount of projects that you make, you're limited by the amount of pages that you have. So if you go to a level 1, you'll get 100 credits a month, and those credits can be used to bring in pages. You can either bring in 100 one-page projects or do one project at 100 pages. Either is just as valid. So you might want to have a look over here first, have a look at your account information. This is where you can find loads of different things, including adding a user, which is useful for anything agency plan or above, where you can have multiple logins. So you can add a user at this dashboard bit over here. All you need to do is press add user and find the email of the person. Nice and easy. You can even say give them an access type actually as well, which means they'll only have access to either all projects or just one project only, and then you can specify the project afterwards, which is very cool. The other things that to be aware of here is account information. If you're ever confused about where your credits are going or what subscription you're on, head over there. Invite code, that's for if you want to try and get other people to use InLinks and you would like a little bit of money from that. That's absolutely fine. We have that kind of stuff over there, which is very cool. And then obviously your invoice list, which is right there. These are sort of tools that are outside of the project. So the SEO toolbox is going to show you your free tools, but remember that these tools are built into your projects, so you probably won't need to find them. You won't need to use those too much once you've paid for an account with InLinks, because they'll be built into the content briefs and the internal linking and the entity extractions. So you'll be doing it on a far larger scale within InLinks. That's nice for if you just want a quick takeaway from one page. Market trends, that's a sort of different tool where we have tried to allow you to follow how entities exist across the web and what's going up and what's going down right now. We can see that clothing is positive, environment is positive, sciences are very positive, but things like automotive and health and personal care are not. You can follow these. For example, I've been following the dark web and travel insurance, and over time, since I've done this, it's improved by 15%. So you can see that people are actually looking for this. If I go back, so now we're back here. So to create a project, create that project button, add your domain URL and select the country or market you're targeting. I'm going to say United Kingdom for inlinks.com. You press next and it will take you to how many pages it sees in the SERPs for inlinks.com or your full domain. It recommends you starting with about half of that. It actually won't let you start with more. This is more because we try to encourage you to get to know the tool before you go fully in with every single page. Also, if you do want to add in all of your pages, then it might be a nice idea to go ahead and add pages manually. So press OK there, and then you will bring in 0 pages and you can add them very specifically, so in a list. When you do that, InLinks will start to run its natural language processing algorithm over all of the pages that you've specified, extract those entities, and give you some information on how to grow that entity map and what you need to do. It's also going to help with solidifying the entities on your website. So if you are talking meaningfully about something, how can we really bring that to Google's attention? And that on InLinks is through internal linking and schema markup, as well as helping audit the content that exists on the website. So once you've done that, if I were to press maybe 50 pages, press OK, and then press proceed, it's going to just bring in the top 50 pages that it sees in SERPs, which can be maybe a little bit off if you're not being really specific, because these things are kind of subjective on their ranking, especially if we're going through any helpful content updates or things like this. So that's why I would always encourage people who are very seriously limiting their subscription to come in with 0 pages and add just the pages that they would like to optimize. So you can see at this point, InLinks is extracting all of the entities. So these are entities, not keywords. The difference between keywords and entities is that keywords actually don't mean anything until they have meaning given to them by entities. So the word cat doesn't really mean anything unless you can link it to the abstract idea of a cat, which is a really hard thing for computers to have because they don't have an abstract idea of a cat. But what they do have is Wikipedia. And Wikipedia is a huge database that has defined all these abstract ideas that are then processable by knowledge graphs. We take those Wikipedia articles and then we put those into a knowledge graph, and we do that through categorizing these, giving them really secure boundaries, and then telling the system that when you say the letters CAT, it refers to this abstract concept, and that is exactly what we want to be talking about, and that's the idea. So now we are inside of InLinks, and it's still working in the background, so I would probably leave it for a good 5 minutes for it to completely finish. It doesn't automatically update or reload itself. So if you think nothing's happening, do go ahead and press refresh, and you will see that this has gone down now. So that's why I say you should probably leave it for 1 to 2 minutes, maybe up to 5 if you're doing 100 pages, and just give it a refresh. So the first thing you'll probably want to do is come over to this topic tab in the left-hand side. This topic tab will show us all of the entities that InLinks has extracted from these pages on this website. So it's still probably not finished because we've got loads and loads. We've got a graph size of more than 500 topics, which makes sense because it's a fully formed website. The topics can get quite granular. What we really want to look out for are the ones that are actually useful here. So the ones at the top should be pretty useful. If you see any on the first page that look actually kind of silly, then I would recommend taking them out, because that means that we have misunderstood a concept with a different concept, and it's just going to be added into your schema, and it's just not going to help anything. So let's have a look if anything over here is looking really rubbish. No, it's all looking pretty good. Disposable cup. There can't be much that we are talking about with a disposable cup. What we can check is to see what pages that's linking to, how to find out if that's the right one for your website. You can take a look at the content by pressing here, just to see where disposable cup might have come up. But in all honesty, I think this might just be a not very useful entity that InLinks has decided to add up. So we need to get rid of that. So go to the topics, find disposable cup, And then you can move over to this single cog, and then you can either report it as an error or flag it as not useful. I'm probably going to report this one as an error because I can't see why that has picked up that kind of thing. But if you find one that you can see why it is in the project, but it's just not relevant to some things, then you can say it's not useful. But don't get too bogged down in this step. This is only really if you can see it in these top few clusters over here, and then we should take it out just because it's at risk of being implemented into your schema a little bit later on. You can have a look at this topic wheel up in the top right hand corner, which is super cool. This is just all of those entities in a nice graph format. The ones on the inside are just the categories. So those aren't entities in themselves. These are the categories that the entities exist in. And the ones on the middle are the entities that are found in page titles. So we assume those to be pretty much your core entities. So you can kind of have a look at these ones. Most of ours is about knowledge graph, social media. All of these things. We look a lot at writing, topics, audits, content plans. It's all good. And on the outside are the secondary topics. So those are things that we have found that are prominent in your web content or in our web content, but they're potentially not in the title topics, so we wouldn't describe them as core entities or main entities. The topics detected by Google are here because we run Google's NLP API as well. I believe it's called Google Discover, and it gives you an idea of which entities Google is returning from its NLP. Now, don't get too worried if none of them, or if only a small amount of them, are being returned. We mainly run this to show how broad the Google NLP is when it delivers entities back to you. It usually only finds things that are capital letters, these kinds of things. But there are things that we can do to make these entities be more discoverable by Google, and we can help with this. But also, it's not the be all and end all. Sometimes Google just doesn't bring back these entities, not because it doesn't have it in its knowledge graph, just because it's almost impossible to center that kind of entity at the center of the page. For example, if we were doing a tutorial of Google's knowledge graph, the main entity would be Google's knowledge graph, not tutorial, even though the concept of a tutorial is an entity in itself. So don't get too bogged down in it. It's more just we're giving you a full picture of the site. Google's giving you the very, very small and the very, very small topics that are surfacing as the most important. Both are useful, but we can try to improve the understanding of each one of them. So we have a 3% understanding of search engine, which we can definitely try to improve. And we can do that through InLinks. So if we go over to the website pages, the first thing to do is to start a targeting strategy. So the targeting strategy is really cool. So it just means that you go through your most important pages and you target the most important pages with their most important entities. You do not have to target every single page, but you should target every page that is a category page that perfectly describes a single entity, that is a sort of hub spot or cornerstone content for entities to thrive in. For example, this is our tool, which is an audience finder. It finds what kind of audience you're trying to cater for. We do talk about audiences on other blog posts, but this is our main entity on the concept of audience. So we target this here, we will be able to find the entity of audience at the top. You might have to scroll down a bit if other things are coming up, the audience isn't working very well. Or you might have to search for this in a topic, but it should come up at the beginning if you are talking really nicely around that entity. So it's found 18 different areas where we have talked about audience in these top 50 pages. This will dramatically increase the more amount of pages I bring in. So if I'd brought in all 600, I'd probably be, 5 times as many internal linking opportunities. But all we need to do is press select. Now it's going to look at all the other pages in InLinks, find those 18 places where we have talked about the word audience meaningfully, and see if it's suitable to place an internal link from those pages going back to this page. So whenever you target something, it means you are putting links into this page. It does not allow you to put links out of this page. For example, this one here, if we target this is our most important page for Google's knowledge graph. So every time someone else is talking around the idea of knowledge graph, on the other pages, we can select this and it will start to go into it. This shouldn't stop this page from linking to this page, or this page from linking to this page, if they are meaningfully talking about an entity that exists on both. There's no limits for that on InLinks, mainly because the whole point of entity SEO for us is to be seeing the web pages as something that's really, that they're all valuable, basically. And as long as you're talking meaningfully about a concept on one of the pages, it doesn't matter how you've structured the website. It doesn't matter all about this sort of link juice idea of if it's a really sub page and you link it to a main page, what's that going to do? We are simply looking for, if you are talking meaningfully, let's optimize that internal link. So you can see nothing's actually happened here yet, and that's because we need to give it a refresh. Now we can see that this audience page, where they said when it said it was going to find 18, it's now placed 10. That's because InLinks has self-censored, basically. So it's not placed any internal links that on top of links that already exist, and it hasn't placed links on pages that already have a really high link density. So it's self-centered down from 18 to 10, which is a good thing, because otherwise it would start to be sort of link stuffy, and that would not be what we're going for. So let's have a look at these internal links. Every time we're talking meaningfully around the idea of audience, we're going to our audience finder tool. These are the anchor texts. They are varied. They don't look the same. They're not exact match. They're coming from loads and loads of different source pages, and you can click on any of them to find where that link has been placed. Yep, we can see over here. So this one is actually really nice because it is talking around the idea of the audience finder, but it's really picking up on the fact that this is an audience finder tool, and we can talk around that. Now those links are live on the InLinks site. If we had the JavaScript code live, which we do, just not on this demo account that I've made, we do all of our internal linking through InLinks itself, which is kind of cool. But yeah, if we were to replace it, I would just copy this code to clipboard, paste it in the header or footer of the website, and everything that you see on InLinks can be put live through that JavaScript. So you don't have to go and hard code these yourself, which is super, super cool. Let's have a look. This one has only found one right now. The more pages we add, the more it will talk about it. But honestly, I'd rather have one really good one than loads and loads of really rubbish ones. And you just keep going with this targeting structure. So making sure that you're just targeting the most important entity for the most important page. So you could have a lot of pages talking about content, but this is probably our most important one where we're talking about web content. So that's where we would do it. So the next thing that we should look at, and another consequence of targeting, is that we start to enable this entity schema after you've targeted a page. So this tick after you've targeted makes you know that there is entity-based schema. If we just press on here, we can now see that we've defined this page, or InLinks has defined this page as one to do with audience, but in other ways we're talking about it in the context of search engine optimization, target market, protection, and data. So there's a few different things that we're talking about there, which is super cool and starts to turn abstract ideas into what these keywords actually are. So it's essentially just saying this is talking about a thing, which can be a person, place, organization, or country, which is called SEO, which is the same as, and then we're linking it directly to the Wikipedia page for search engine optimization, which is super, super, super cool because it allows you to access Google's knowledge graph almost directly by forcing it to know that when you're saying a certain word, you're actually talking about this data point. And this is the entity. So you've really succeeded in doing a lot of entity SEO with very little work, especially because all of this is also live with the JavaScript code. Take a look at the more in-depth videos around internal linking and schema to see how to edit these and to figure these out. But that's essentially the most important part. The next thing you're going to want to do is to audit existing pages that have a really nice growth opportunity. So here you can see the growth opportunities. It will start to show you what we can add and how we can improve each page, the smallest amount we can do for the biggest reward. So for us, that's this right now. We're in position 3 for entity checker, which is nice, but I think with just a small amount of improvement, we'll probably be able to go up a little bit more. We press audit here, and it's bringing in the idea of Entity Analyzer SEO Tool. This is the title of the page. But this is the what we're actually ranking for, entitieschecker.com, which is okay, but actually I want to rank for Entity Analyzer. So now we just leave it as national optimization. Local optimization is fine, but it's far more granular. So it's going to make sure that it's pulling in data from a very small area, which is not what we want for this kind of thing. So we'll leave it at national optimization, press OK. It's going to find out the top 10 ranking pages for this kind of thing. Oh, we're already ranking pretty highly for this. But we can replace ours with maybe a different competitor that we have, but you can add that in there. We'll dismiss it for now, and then we can press OK. And that starts to analyze those top 10 ranking pages, extracting the entities on those pages and giving us a more localized knowledge graph for entities. Even though we were at the top of this, I think it's still a useful thing to do for these growth opportunity things. But it might be better to also add that schema and internal linking through the targeting as well. So the entity analyzer is now here. It's bringing in that content. See, we don't actually have the best content score. I think it's we've been lucky through the helpful content update because it's a very useful tool and we are talking meaningfully about it and we're sort of doing thought leadership, which is at the end of the day very, very, very important. But we're still missing out on some really nice entities that are going to help us in the long run. So, oh, it's gone up now. That's nice. Give it a nice couple of minutes before you count your chickens. So here's the top 10 ranking pages. Here's the topic chart for Entity Analyzer. The ones on the inside are the ones we're talking about, and the ones on the outside are the ones we're not talking about, that other people are talking about. So this one over here is really catching my eye because it's quite a lot to do with error reports, analysis, research, stuff that we really should be offering information on that we don't have yet. We can definitely improve this. And to do that, you go to the editor. You can filter by the missing topics. So these are the ones that we have missed out. And then you start to write them into your contents as it sees there. So, for example, if we go to the top 10 ranking pages, we can see that we've missed out on 5 of these. So we can filter by the missing topics. So these are the ones that we have missed out. And then you start to write them into your contents as it sees there. So, for example, if we go to the top 10 ranking pages, we can see that we've missed out on 5 of these. So we can filter by the missing topics. So these are the ones that we have missed out. And then you start to write them into your contents as it sees there. yeah, you can go ahead and click on anything to see what kind of synonyms people are using, your competitors are using for each entity. So people are talking about properties, feature, attribute, variable, and attribute, which makes sense. But they're also talking about like measurement and things like that. Identity. Yeah, just nice things. You don't, obviously, when you get up to around 90%, these kinds of entities are, it's not that you have to put them in, and if it doesn't work with you and your content strategy and what you're actually offering, don't force it, because there's nothing worse than just having a piece of content that's following entity guidelines that you're not even really showing that you have. But it's just, if you have like the idea of analysis, we've got the idea of analyzer, entity analyzer, which is its own entity, but we haven't really explained how analysis fits into the entity analyzer. I know we have the word, but it's a really good way to show that this is something that can't be that needs to be expanded on. Okay, so the next thing that you'll probably be interested in is this keyword research over here. So InLinks is really unique in this, in that within the content briefs, it's going to start offering you even more content that you could start writing about on separate briefs or different pages. And it's going to do this by taking the most important entities associated with your initial keyword research of Entity Analyzer and splitting that up into tons of entity clusters, topic clusters. So we can see that with Entity Analyzer, the most important entities seem to be entities, analysis, analyzer, and Google. Makes sense. Analysis and analyzer are two different things in terms of Google. One is a tool, one is a logic, one's a practice. So if you were to have a look at Google entities, we've then started to query Google entities to Google Suggest. Here are all of the entities that are coming up with that. Again, with NLP entities, how to find them, entities tool, the questions and everything like this. Private entities. See, this is also where you'll need to do a little bit of an interesting sweep. Private entities privacy, that will be something to do with law, which has a tenuous connection. You can see why Google and InLinks have tried to offer you that. But if it's just wrong, just leave it. Google NLP, these ones are really cool. Google NLP extraction, you can have a look at the questions and stuff like this. And the nicest thing about this is you can head over to user intent and start to divide these up by verb. So we have essentially boiled down verbs to be the essence of intent. Well, we didn't do that. Language already evolved to do that, but that's what's happened. And we now can start to say, well, if you want to look at all the verbs to do with create, and within this keyword research of your initial query, that's what's coming up. Rank, how does Google rank web pages, charge, these kinds of things. You can export this to a CSV as well, so you can play around with it in your own time. And I suppose the only other thing here is that you can always assign these things to a writer. So if you do need to write everything and then get someone else to look at it, or you want somebody else to write it, and after you have added all of the briefs and structure suggestions, then you can do that in this bit down here. So that was an audit. The only thing separate from an audit would be would be this brief. The brief is almost exactly the same thing, except it gives you nothing to bring in. So you're starting with a completely empty page, which is very nice for when you have done all that keyword research and you just want to put it into InLinks for it to get you to write this content for you using the AI feature, using a load of different things. That's where we are working. So let's go back. A really cool thing that you might want to check out also is this internal linking tool. So we've already done the internal linking itself, But we can now have a look at the static internal links on a site. So the ones that exist that are hard coded, basically. So here's all of the and links that we have hard coded ourselves that InLinks has now the ability to change. So we have 14 different anchor texts. Here's all of them. We can take a look at them, and we can have a look at the pages which they have that they're going to. And we can edit these to redirect to a different one. So it's going to be a really useful tool for people who are having to redirect all things to that page. You can just do that automatically within InLinks, which is very nice. Again, with the static external links, we also have these. So everything we're linking out towards, we can have a look over here, and we actually have a few broken ones as well. So if we were to remove the internal broken links, that stops any broken links from being on the website. Finally, there's our social media tool. So InLinks has a social media tool which allows you to plan and create and also schedules social media posts to different platforms, including Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google Business, and Pinterest. Instagram is coming soon, but we are struggling with Meta right now. So if anybody has any helpful tips, feel free to email Dixon. But yeah, so what it does essentially is it takes the top 4 or 5 ranking not even ranking, the ones that the entities that are most intrinsic to your website. So we have SEO content, internal linking, and case studies. That is purely from the top 50 pages I've brought into this account. It would probably be far more specific to knowledge graphs if we had brought in more pages. But out of these 50 pages, these seem to be the most prominent entities. And out of those most prominent entities, we can have a look at these, say internal link building, how to do internal link building. We can create that there. You can actually AI this content with a load of prompting from the InLinks backend, which is cool. Here's some nice ways to do it. It has some hashtags and nice things like that. You can save that. You can save that and add images and related pages. You can say what date you want this to go live, and you could preview it. So it's a really nice way to expand your reach through entity understanding. But what happens when you want to start a website from scratch and you have no idea what to do? Well, InLinks is really cool for that as well. So down here, I have a project called My Turtle Project, and I essentially decided I wanted to create the most perfect website on turtles. So I went to SEMrush and I extracted the top 100 pages ranking for turtles, or 108 pages, it seems, which is fine. They're all from different URLs and different domains, which is also fine. But I added all of those URLs into InLinks. So I'd started an empty page, went over to add pages in the top right-hand corner, and then pasted all of those 108 pages into here. Now, immediately you'll notice that the internal link in the schema, they won't work because it's going on loads of different domains. It can't work into websites. It can only work if you're putting your own website on there and you have access to putting the JavaScript code live. But what it does do is extract all of the entities in the top 100 pages and give you a really fantastic topic chart or topic wheel or entity graph, whatever you want to call it, for turtles. So this essentially is the most perfect topic graph for turtles. We can use this to start writing our new website and even create another project where you could pull in the URLs that you've put live within links and put them into a different website that are all on the same website that you could then use the internal linking and schema, which is pretty cool. And I do think it's a good way to explore InLinks as well. because you will see so many people trying to sell topic charts that aren't even half as detailed for this for about $500 plus. I've seen it and it's crazy, but here's how you can do that for under 50. Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for listening to this presentation. Do get in touch with any of the team if you would like some help with anything, and do feel free to book a demo with the team at the book a demo slot on inlinks.com.